everyone, this is Tatum
and Sydney,
and welcome back to the Welcome Table. Today we are joined by Dr. Williamson, who was appointed the Dean of the UCI Palmyra School of Business earlier this year. So congratulations, that's so awesome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's so cool. Prior to his appointment as Dean of the School of Business, Williamson served as the Pro Vice Chancellor and Dean of the Wellington School of Business and Government at Victoria University of Wellington in New Zealand. Dean Williamson, who earned his PhD from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and bachelor's degree in business from Miami University, has been a professor and administrator at business schools around the world, a globally recognized expert in the area of human resource management. His research has been published by leading academic journals worldwide. Dr. Dean Williamson has been described as a steadfast and passionate educator whose approach to business education has earned him widespread recognition. And we're just so happy to talk to you today. Thank you so much for coming on. So first question, how are you? How are you doing?
I am doing well. It is really a privilege to be on the show. Thank you very much for reaching out to me and making the connection. I'm excited. I am very excited. It's a great privilege to have this role, and I'm looking forward to just seeing what I can do to continue all the positive things that are going on at UCI.
Of course. And before we get started with the actual interview, we're going to jump into my favorite part of the show, which is the show and tell we do.
Got it.
I'm going this week. I was debating on what to bring, but I was like, this is really going to show my nerd side. So let's just go at it. So I bought this, and I don't know if you can probably guess what it is. Maybe not if you're like a Harry Potter fan, but this is my wand from the Wizarding World of Harry Potter at Universal Studios. I'm a Harry Potter fan. I read all the books, read the series twice. And yeah, my grandma's a Harry Potter fan. Everyone in my family is a Harry Potter fan. Like, runs of the family, Lord of the Rings too, huge nerd. So yeah, this is Severus Snape's wand because I love him so much. And he's one of my favorite characters. So yeah.
Well, if I had known that you were going to pull that out, I would have got my son to come and give his story about his wand, because we have a family full of Harry Potter fans as well.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Nice.
So, we got him a wand for his most recent present. So you have a soul brother in him.
Yes, it is good literature. I love it so much. That's my item. And what did you bring for us today?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm wearing it. This is a Toki Ponamu. So it's a greenstone. And the history behind this is that it is tradition in Maori culture. So the Maori people are the indigenous people of New Zealand. And in Maori culture, it is tradition that greenstone is given it's a tool. It's a very important tool historically because of its hardness. And you can use it for a lot of different things. But it is also seen as precious. And so what typically happens is it's given as a gift. And so one of the things I was told when I arrived in New Zealand is, you don't usually buy one of these for yourselves. It's usually more appropriate if someone gives it to you, and they give it to you out of a sign of respect. And so when I left my previous job, the university, in my send-off, gave me one of these as a sign of respect and sort of appreciation for the service I provided at the university. And this is particularly an adzi, or a shaping tool. So you would use this to carve. And so you might use this to make a canoe, or what they'll call a waka, or a house, or a home, a marae, for example. And so this is a shaper or a carver. And so the symbolic meaning behind it is it's given to someone who is seen as a shaper, or someone who's creating their pathway. And so I think it was a great honor to receive it. It's beautiful. I'm not one who has a lot of jewelry, but this one in particular, I think, is a pretty nice thing. And it's just a great reminder of the wonderful experiences I had in New Zealand.
Wow.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's super amazing. And I bet you must feel so happy to have received that from them. So that's amazing.
Yeah, big honor, because not everybody gets one.
Yes, exactly. You're special.
Exactly. You can't be a poser with that on your neck.
Yeah, not at all.
You have to be
and if I ever need to make a canoe, I guess I can pull it out and start shaping a tree or something. I don't know.
Perfect. Beautiful and practical.
There you go.
All jewelry should be. That's awesome. Well, that actually leads us to our first question. You said that they gave you the necklace as a going away present, which is so cool. And then that brought you to us at UCI, which we were so excited about. And we wanted to ask you, as the newly appointed dean at UCI's Paul Mirage School of Business, what have some of your first orders of business been thus far?
Oh, well, I think the role of being a dean is a service role in my mind. I come into this role with the goal that my job is to serve the community. And so I've always felt that no matter what job you had, if you were supposed to provide service, you can't serve people you don't know. Right? It just doesn't work. So first thing I have to do is find out the people I'm supposed to serve. And so I've spent the last 2.5 months spending a lot of time, one, meeting the staff. So I've had a chance to meet with all the staff in the school, which is great, and learn a little bit about what they're doing. I've met with the students. So I've met with all the I've met with the undergraduate students, the master's students, the PhD students, all of the students that we have, just to kind of get a sense as to why are you here? What are you looking for? What do you like about the Paul Mirage School? What don't you like about the Paul Mirage School? To help me really appreciate what they're looking to get out of us. And so I can make sure that as the dean, I'm making decisions that allow that to happen. And then of course, I needed to find out about UCI. So I've got a chance to meet with people across the campus, people like you, just what is this place I'm joining? You kind of know what it is from a distance, but you don't really know till you kind of get up close. And then a lot of time understanding the community, because I really do want our school to be heavily involved and deeply connected with the broader community. And to me, that means going out, talking to business leaders, but also community leaders. And what are some of the expectations they would have about the university, but also how we as a business school can play a meaningful role in shaping, hopefully, some positive economic outcomes for all the various communities that are represented in Orange County. So that's been the first business duty, and it's really been nice. I've probably had a chance to, I don't know, 300, 400, 500 people probably at some point in the last 3 months, just in terms of various Q&A sessions and town halls and a bunch of meetings. But it's been exciting, and the nice thing, of course, is people have been extremely receptive and very welcoming to me. And I think a lot of it is more about how they view UCI, but also very excited to work with me. So it's been good.
Right, like a very hands-on integrative approach, like you're in the community. And while we were gathering the interview questions for this piece, we did a whole bunch of research, and I can see that you've done a lot of other interviews and a lot of, like you did this one for UCI, and you've been very hands-on and really in the community and talking to everybody and getting to know people. So I appreciate that as well. That's so amazing and awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's important. It's critical.
Yes, and regarding you as a person and what you're known for, which is your expertise in human resource management and your innovative approach to business education, tell us about your academic background and what influenced your strengths in this business.
Well, I guess as an academic, your job is to answer questions. And to be honest, the question that I've spent most of my career on, I got when I was an undergraduate. And it was my third year, my junior year, and it dawned on me that I was going to graduate, hopefully. And that when I did, I had to get a job. And it never, I had a plan in terms of getting out of high school, and I had a plan hopefully of getting into college, but I actually had no plan as to what was supposed to happen after college. Right. I just thought that was all going to magically happen. And then it dawned on me, wait, I got to find a job. Well, I need a career. What is that? How do you do those things? And I didn't really know. And I was talking to a friend of mine who at the time was going through the same process. And he was saying, oh, you need to go interview with this particular company. And I was like, oh, okay, great. So, and I asked him, so why are you interested in doing that? And he said, it seems like a cool place to work. And I just thought that was the craziest thing I ever heard in my life, because he was trying to find a job working for a company he knew nothing about, with a group of individuals he had no idea who they were, to move to a city he had never lived in before, to do something he had never done before. And it was all because it sounded like a good idea. Mm-hmm. And that just didn't sound reasonable to me. And so this question popped in my head around, well, how do people find jobs? And then later, after I found a job, and one of the things in my job was to actually hire people, I would struggle with this thing around, how do I make a decision as to hire this person as opposed to that person? And so those two questions really came from my own personal experiences of trying to find a job and thinking about a career, and then trying to hire individuals. And that issue around how people find jobs and how companies find people has pretty much sparked my career. And I've done research now for a long period of time trying to understand how we can best address those issues. How can I prepare people to make better choices around selecting jobs? How can I help companies make better choices about the type of people they bring in? And then, of course, once they're in, how do we effectively support those people so they can be successful in what they're trying to accomplish? So it started off with a very practical question. Never in my mind would I have thought that would have led to me becoming an academic, but I guess, I had a curiosity that didn't get, fulfilled, and I wanted to do more and more and more. And over that time now, it's allowed me to take those two questions, and now I've been able to do work looking at those two questions and working with companies to answer those questions in over 25 different countries, 6 different continents, and a wide range of environments, everything from working with airlines to luxury good providers to companies that make steel to companies that make cars. And so it's really turned into something that I would have never envisioned, but I think it does speak to the power of a little bit of curiosity. And that's the way in which that's played out. And then, of course, that question around how you get a job. Well, as an academic in a business school, we play a huge role in supporting students to do that. And so it's been very fulfilling for me to sort of help students navigate that process. I just had the opportunity yesterday to do I received a call from a company trying to hire a former student of mine. They wanted a reference check. And, that's like one of the greatest parts of this job ever, to be able to provide a reference for a great student of yours, to help them get a job that, allows them to launch themselves. You can't beat that.
Yeah, it's incredible. And that kind of goes back to what a lot of teachers have said. Both of our parents have like teaching backgrounds. And I think Sydney can probably attest to this. One thing that teachers say that's so fulfilling is to hear that their students are successful after leaving their classroom. And that's kind of like the sense that we're getting from what you're saying here. And it's really nice to hear, even though you're like the dean now, which is like a huge, huge title, yes, you're still a teacher, at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, no, I'm an educator. I love it. It's just an honor. It's a privilege to be in this role. You have this space where people come to you and they say, tell us what you think. Now, in most places around the world, that's not how it plays out. So, I don't take it lightly, but you do, I guess it's like being a parent in some respects. You live vicariously through your students, right? You celebrate their successes like if they're their own. So I can't think of a better role. I really can't.
That's wonderful.
And your role, like you said, is the dean. So it's an extremely influential, extremely pivotal role, right? But I'm not sure if people know this as well, but you are the first Black dean of the school, which is amazing. And you're also the only Black dean of the UC's 6 business schools currently. So this is huge. This is so huge. I'm so happy. I'm so amazed at you. And what does this mean to you? Like, can you take me through like what went through your head when you heard you were going to be moving to this role? And what do you think it should mean to the UC system?
Well, yeah, it's a lot of thoughts on that.
Yeah.
I think first is the honor to serve, right? I mean, I got into this profession because I thought it would allow me to be able to support people in a way that, I just found was amazing. And so to be able to do that as a dean, where you have a bigger span of control and a much bigger sphere of influence, I don't take that lightly. I think it's a big honor. And secondly, I go, well, it honors, in many respects, me being in this role honors the love and the support and just the vision that my family had for me. So, I think my mother and father, who both live in Chicago, this is where I grew up on the South Side, very proud South Side Chicagoan. I think they look at this sometimes and go, how'd that happen? I mean, it's not necessarily the case that would have been a natural expectation, but I think even they would have said very early on to never limit my dreams as to what I could do. They always just encouraged me in just almost a blind way, like, whatever, you can do it, you can do it. And so just being in an environment that never constrained what I could aspire for, or never allowed me to settle for the situations that others would try to put me in, or expectations that others would have for me. I think it just honors that, right? So, it wasn't the case you just wake up one day and you go, I'm gonna become a dean. It just kind of happens is you set an expectation for yourself. And I know that came from my family, right? And comes from my family. So I think it's really nice to kind of see that happen because of the love and support they gave me. I think as it pertains to the UC system, it's sort of twofold, right? I think it's not lost on me, and it's truly a privilege to be the first Black dean in this role. But I would hope that it would challenge the system really in many ways. I would think it would say, well, one, challenge the UC system to ask the question, why not? Right. So, my hope would be the worst thing that could possibly happen ever is if it was first and only. If that happens, then this was not with the plan. That's not the goal. And so the big question I would say is, well, why not? So when we're thinking about people in positions like this across the UC system, across UCI, we want people from a lot of different backgrounds. And oftentimes it's this question, well, would they fit, or do you think they'd be appropriate? Why not? Why not have somebody come from that background? Why would you not expect excellence from that background, just like you would from some other expert? And so I hope that that's a question that my presence and my activity and my behavior would challenge. And I guess the other thing would be, is it be a challenge and a question to the students in the UC system, to why not? So, when you're sitting down talking in my office about the things you're trying to do, and I'm like, well, have you ever thought about running that? And you're like, well, you think I can do, why not? Why not you? Right. And so, I'm hopeful that, the way I carry myself, what I'm able to accomplish, the values that I exhibit in doing that will challenge the system in that way, because I don't really think it's acceptable that I'm the first, to be quite honest. I don't think I'm the first person that of my background that's ever been able to do this job. I'm happy and very fortunate to have it, but I better not be the last. And I'm hoping that I will create an environment that supports a lot more people from a lot more backgrounds to be able to do roles like this, because it's really important.
I'm snapping.
Okay, I know. Yeah, amen to that. Hopefully you're so glad you're the first, but hopefully you were not the last, for sure.
No, that's not the, listen, if I'm the last, I wasn't successful. Let's just put it like that.
Yeah.
Because the goal here is to, as an educator, the goal here is just unlock the potential that people have. And, I know, it was somebody sitting down with me just saying, have you ever thought about being an academic? If they ever thought about getting a PhD? And I didn't even know what that was. I didn't even know that was a job. I didn't know you could get paid to do that. Like, I didn't appreciate this at all. And so, that unlocked something in me that I didn't know was there. And so, the next iteration is, well, have you thought about being a president of a university? And somebody, looking at what we're talking about, why not? Why can't you do that type of thing? So, that's what we should be shooting for.
That's incredible. Yeah. And we see that you in the Paul Murrah School of Business are trying to do that by diversifying the student body and creating opportunities for students of, color, different backgrounds, all that kind of stuff in forward movement. We want to ask you specifically, what is the Paul Murrah School of Business doing thus far? What plans do you have in order to enact this difference and to create spaces for students of colors and different background to progress within this field?
I should start by acknowledging that one of the things that attracted me to UCI was very clear commitment the university has placed on this issue around diversity and inclusion. Something that, I think a lot of institutions have a lot of rhetoric around it, but it's really interesting to see what actions are associated with that. And I knew something was a little bit different when I applied for the role. And as part of the application, I actually had to submit an essay about my perspectives on diversity and inclusion and how that would play a role in what I would do as a dean. And thought to myself, I was like, wow, I have never been asked to do something like that for a job before. And I thought that was actually pretty important, that they made that part of their selection process. And so there was more than just a little bit of lip service associated with it. But then if you look at the business school, we have a track record of some success in that. Like 50% of our academic staff are women. That's very, very rare in business environments, and something I'm really happy to be joining an environment that has that as a priority. We have a similar representation in our postgraduate master's classes with women. And so there's clearly been an internalization that this is important, and this is about us really bringing out the best in the community that we're surrounded around. That said, we have a lot of stuff we still need to do. I think we're seeing some great outcomes with our Latinx population, but I would love to see us do more with that. We have some new student organizations that we brought on board, and I've met with some of them, Alpha being one of them. I know those students have some great ideas, and we would love to support them in making sure that they're able to have really a space to drive both their educational success, but also their professional success. Really excited. Last year, we started the Black Management Association,
Yes.
and have had a chance to meet with them. Really a great group of individuals. I should give a plug. On May 1st, they're having their first annual Black Management Association conference.
Yes.
It'll be great.
Yes.
I am definitely looking forward to that. I'll have the privilege of doing the opening interview. I will have an interview as a keynote to start it off, and it'll be Jason Wright, who is the current president, the first Black president of an NFL team. He's the president of the Washington football team. And so that'll be a great story. He's from Southern California, played football in college as well as in the NFL. Later on, got an MBA, and now is the head of an NFL franchise. And so that's a fantastic story. I think a nice way to sort of start the conference. So please, people should definitely jump on and look at that. But we have more to do. I think we need to get more students in our doctoral program. We really need to get more people from a wider variety of backgrounds, people of color, to think about PhDs in business, so we can have more PhDs of color in faculty roles. So, in my mind, it's about creating a culture that really has a belief that excellence comes in a lot of different sizes and shapes and backgrounds. And, it's a process of how you engage with people and how you see the potential in people, and you educate and develop it. Not necessarily an end game about a number. You need numbers because that tracks your success. Don't get me wrong, but it is the case that we still have some work to do where we truly have that process down pat.
Right, 100%. I totally agree. And on the subject of creating change and creating spaces and things of that nature, the pandemic has had a lot of influence in that, especially like last year. There were so many changes being made regarding diversity. And in terms of business, I just feel like there's going to be a lot of changes in the future. Would you agree with that? Would you agree that there are going to be changes to suit a more, or like a post-pandemic lifestyle regarding business? And if so, what do you think some of those may be?
Well, I should say I don't have a PhD in future telling, so I'm a guest like everybody else. But what I will say is, all the indications we see, and listening to business leaders and looking what companies are doing, people, there's this phrase around the new normal or going back to normal and all that. Listen, the world is going to be different, and we're not going back. We have no desire to go back. It would have been fantastic for me to be able to do this interview with you face to face. But you know what? We can do it this way. It's still a way for us to connect, and we're not going to stop using this tool because it is helpful. And so I think you're going to see a lot more flexibility about how people work, where people live and work. When people come to the office, when they don't. I think you're going to see a lot more. One of the things that I've experienced in the last year or so has been how, because we don't have this normative of everybody being in the same place at the same time, people are much more having to build their life around their work and their work around their life. And so, it's not just you see, kids running in the background of a Zoom meeting, or, cats and pets and others, but it's actually people feel a lot more comfortable telling you about their life, right? Because their life is, you see their life in the background, you know their life is going on, as opposed to sort of when people come to work and they sort of put up a facade and their life is something else. And I actually have found that to be really, I think that's really healthy. I think that's good. I think it's important for us to understand the work we do is a part of who we are, but it is not who we are, right? It's just a part of who we are. And I think hopefully companies will be a lot more comfortable being able to have those conversations with their employees around what's going on. How do we fit what you're trying to do professionally with what you're trying to accomplish personally? So I think that'll be one aspect. I think the conversation we've been having for the last year almost, just thinking about the anniversary of George Floyd's death coming up, around race and those issues, that's changed the way we think about things in business as well. And I don't know if we've resolved everything that we need to resolve, but it is brought to the forefront something that was already there, that business leaders, I think in many cases, just had never taken the time to think about. And that is, you cannot run a sustainable business, period, if the community that you're in is not sustainable. Right? So inequality is not sustainable. right? And so if you're trying to have a business that's successful for a long period of time, unless that business is purely based on some notions of exploitation, then you can't build that in an environment where the people inside the organization or the people outside the organization are treated in an inequality or inhumane way. And so now I think you're seeing business leaders actually realize, well, wait, this is not just something that's happening on the side or a social issue. This is something that we're a part of, whether we want to be a positive part of or a negative part of it. We're not on the sidelines, we're in this. And so it's forcing businesses to be a lot more proactive, a lot more overt, giving a lot more thought to it. And that includes the university. We're part of this as well. And either we're helping or we're hurting. There's no in between, to be quite honest, in my mind. So that'll be a part of the conversation. And I think it's opened up the door for more voices to sort of shape what businesses are trying to do. Certainly, I hope it also shapes what businesses do in terms of the products they provide, who they serve, what types of things they provide them. Like we have a bunch of communities that primarily don't get served, right? They're underserved because the companies hadn't thought about actually thinking about their experiences. So I think that's opened up a very different window for us as a business community that I hope we're very comfortable living with. So yeah, I think there's going to be some differences. I don't want to go back. I like to have the flexibility of meeting with a person face to face as well as virtually. I like to be able to walk into an environment in an organization where the expectation is that they'll take some time to learn about my background, my culture, my values, and incorporate that in what they're doing. These are good things. They're challenging things, definitely, but that's what it is. It's okay.
Yeah, no, I really love the idea of just having synchronicity within the business world and then your actual personal world, and just realizing, we're all people. I think that's the basis of what this whole time has really taught us. You don't have to have two separate selves. Like you can just really mold them together.
I have 3 kids, daughters, 18, and I have a 12-year-old son. And I am the old dad who doesn't know anything for them, no matter how many degrees I have or no matter what decisions I'm making about it. I am that as well as the dean, as well as all these other things. And I think it's good when a person can appreciate that and bring that to their work environment. It doesn't take away from their skill set. It just means they're more comfortable doing their job.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, we're hearing all of these like wonderful philosophies in regards to life and then also your work. And you kind of alluded to it earlier, but we're just wondering, like, who do you admire the most who taught you all of these things?
Oh, man. That's always a tough question, right? Because it's never just one person. It's a combination of experiences. And some of these are people that are famous, and some of these are people you just come across. I think I benefited a lot from having some great role models in my family. I was always able to spend time with, I spent time with my great-grandparents, my grandparents, my parents, and I appreciate that's not something everybody's been able to do. But, common across that is just a perspective around time and what's enduring over time and what's not enduring over time. So, just like the values are enduring, the way you treat people is enduring, relationships are enduring. What you buy, how much you make, what you spend it on, not enduring. Like it comes and goes. It just, people have been doing that for thousands and thousands of years, but those relationships and those values and spending the time thinking about that, even though particularly, when I was younger and you're doing what you do, that's not something you get told to spend a lot of time on. But they encourage that. They kind of set me down and focus on that. So those individuals played a big role in shaping that. My faith, I'm Christian, that's something that's been a big part of who I've been as a person, and being able to sort of have pastors and, have experiences through my church that really have given me that type of foundation, and studying my religion and learning about that, and that's really been a big important decision for how I make decisions, like how I deal with complex issues. Where is the values coming from around that? And then I think when I think about other people, I always like to study or just learn about people who've tried to do something at a really high level. Right, because just understand, and whether that's everything from civil rights leaders to professional athletes to artists to politicians, it doesn't really matter. But when you get a person that's willing to commit to doing something at a really high level and understanding what does it take to do that that inspires me, because if you look at all those examples, whether it be the basketball player, the civil rights activist, the lawyer, it doesn't really matter. There was this decision that each of those people made around, I have a skill, but I'm going to take the time to really get good at that. And it really instilled in me this idea, it's not really about whether or not you're good or not. It's about whether or not you're willing to do the things necessary to be good. And that's the distinction, right? And those are things that inspire me, because I get excited by excellence.
That's awesome.
I love that. We also wanted to ask you, in the same vein, but a little different, what is one thing that you are most proud of, like personally, professionally, anything like that?
Well, professionally, I about a year and a half ago, I received the PhD Project is a organization that I've been involved in for probably 20 years. And it's an organization that was created to support the advancement or increase in the numbers of minorities in America who pursue PhDs in business. So I am very clearly not in my role today had it not been for my participation in that program. That was one of the key ways in which I found out about what it meant to be a professor, what it meant to be a professor in business. And throughout my career, that organization and the people involved in it had always been there to support me, advise me, mentor me. And that really has been like the key thread that's held together my entire career. And so I've always had a big desire to want to support that organization and do whatever I could to make sure that others benefited from it. So about a year and a half ago, I was given what their honor is called I was inducted into their Hall of Fame. And that was recognition for the work that I've done to support the diversification of the academy, and also as a result, the business community through that organization. And when I received that, I told them, I've received a few honors, I've been fortunate, but this is by far the greatest one I've ever received, because, to be recognized by individuals who you have tremendous respect for is the greatest form of respect. Mm-hmm. And so this organization that has shaped my entire life. It's shaped the life of my family. It's done it for thousands of individuals. And for them to say, I am somehow contributed to that, just meant I couldn't think of a better compliment than that. And so that's professionally the highest I've ever received. I don't think I'll ever get better than that. It's not like you can get inducted twice into the Hall of Fame. So I think that was probably going to be the one I hold on to. And then I guess personally, it just goes back to my family. I have a great wife. I have 3 loving kids. And so to just being able to have been on a journey with them and, see them develop as an individual, I just take great pride in that every day. That's not something I take for granted.
That's wonderful. That's so good to hear. Accomplishments are so wide ranging, and to hear that you have like this lovely balance, that's just, something that I think we both wish to achieve as well.
Yeah. No, I feel very fortunate in that regard. You get a chance. I told them, that organization, when I first had a chance to have a leadership role within that, I said, thank you very much for giving me the chance to serve. Like, that's just, you can't do anything if you don't get the role, right? And so, they took a chance on letting me have some things, and, unfortunately, I guess I did let them down.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Yeah, that's so cool. And this leads us to our last question. This whole interview has been so lovely. And we want to know something like a little bit more personal. What kind of hobbies do you have? Like you do, within the, your professional life and then personal life, you're a father, you're a husband, you do so much. So what kind of things do you do for fun?
I saw that you play the piano, which I play the piano as well. So I'd like to say that's amazing. And then I also saw that you play basketball.
Yeah, I would say music and basketball are pretty much it. And if I had to put them in order, it's basketball. So
wow.
and I can't say, I tell everybody I'm in the eternal pursuit of the perfect jump shot. Like I'm trying to play until I literally, I played in a basketball, like, just a league, local community league or whatever. And there was a guy there who had been coming to that league, and he had played in that league, and then his kids played in that league, and now his grandkids were playing. So he was in his 80s, and he was still coming to the games. And I was like, that's who I want to be. Like, I want you to literally drag me out of the court, because I love sports, and I just love the notion of competition. So when I'm not using my brain, I'm trying to go out and find some basketball court somewhere to go play, and just as a chance to kind of release some steam and compete in a little bit. So that's probably the one thing I certainly would try to do every week for myself.
Love that. And then on the music side, what's your favorite song to play?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Ooh, that's a tough one. You know, I grew up taking piano lessons, and I had a classical piano teacher. So a lot of that was teaching that. But there was a period of time when I was in my doctoral program, I was going to an AME church in North Carolina, and they needed a musician to play for the male choir. And I'm not great, you know. I know what a great piano sounds like. I'm not that. I was better than no one. So I played for this male choir, the average age of which was probably 55. I was the very, very extreme outlier. I was bringing down the average by a lot, actually. And so we only sang traditional African American spirituals. And so, you know, it was all hymns all the time. And I love playing those. You know, it's just something about the music. It's something about the culture. It reminds me of that wonderful experience. So if I have some time to sit down and play something or learn something new, I just pull out the old AME hymnal and I play some of those hymns. That's a personal pleasure of mine.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is so amazing. You're so awesome. I'm so glad we got this conversation.
Oh, no, my pleasure. My pleasure.
We're so glad to have gotten to know you on a personal level, a professional level. Yeah, and we're just so happy to have you here at UCI. You know, I think, you know, we're on the road to seeing some really awesome changes as you were talking about. So thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure.
Well, thank you guys for joining us for that episode of The Welcome Table. This has been Sydney
And Tatum.
And then we'll see you guys next time. Bye.